housing, I would say, projects are the last step in trying to get some type of housing. So once you get evicted from low-income housing, you're basically really going out and you're being homeless. And you can't get a place because when you go homeless, the first place that they offer you is one of these low-income housing complexes. But once you become a HUD evicted person, then there's no low-income housing anywhere that you can go where HUD owns the property. Now, that one strike law means that if I'm out here in Santa Barbara and my family stays in Plaza East, if I commit a crime out here, my family can be evicted because I'm still within the HUD boundaries. So it's a one strike law no matter where you go, that if I'm part of the family and if I get convicted of a crime, my family is being targeted for eviction. So it's a whole political game that's bigger than this little gang injunction and things like that. It's a political thing that's going on. But one of the things that we've been instrumental in doing is working with individuals that's on a gang injunction and trying to show that these are real people, they need help, and some don't need to be on the list. We have Jamal here, Jamal Gaines, which stays in Robert Pitts. He stays in a housing complex that's targeted for redevelopment. You have Leslie Howard down here at the end, which is a father of 15 that one of his sons is on the gang injunction list, but he has several others that we're trying to get trying to get on the list, I would say. But Jamal Gaines, you know, as he expressed in the video, and I'll let him tell a little bit more about himself, is one of those unfortunate young men that is on this list and shouldn't be on the list. One of the things that they did was, and he's going to explain the process of getting on the gang injunction, is delivering boxes and telling you not to go to court and who to go to court and all that type of stuff. I'll let him explain that, but it's the whole thing with you have between the civil and the criminal suit was that once you're a criminal, you identify with the public defender's office. You know that. You know you can have representation. But in a civil matter, if you don't understand law, you don't know what to do. So that's where a lot of these young men faced was a civil lawsuit, and they didn't understand what was going on. So you had an opportunity to state your case and you might not get on the list, but nobody went to court because they knew nothing about civil injunctions or civil lawsuits or anything like that. The only thing that they identified was, over the years, is juvenile. There's a public defender in juvenile. There's a public defender once you become an adult. So nobody knows about civil law, so you know nothing about how to go obtain a lawyer or anything like that. And the other thing is the public defender's office is free. In a civil injunction, you have to pay for a lawyer to help you get off. Now, one of the things that our public defender in San Francisco, Jeff Adachi, was trying to look at and see who had a criminal case so he can help them get off of the list. But he was only able to help a couple people because he couldn't dedicate his whole staff to the gang injunction since it wasn't criminal. So that's just a little overview of the gang injunctions and what's going on in the area. And I'm gonna let Jamal speak about how he got on, what he's doing, and how it was processed on being on the gang injunction. And then Leslie is going to talk about his family, his son actually that's on the gang injunction, and how he's hiding when he comes to the city to see them right now.
Yeah, my name is Jamal Gaines, and I lived in the Fillmore area of San Francisco all my life. You know, grew up with my family and everything. And that's a drug area, you know, so it's nothing new. It's a drug area. Grew up around it and seen it. Tried my hardest not to be a part of it. And about one day, there's some lady come by, and she said she got several $100s and she wanted to buy some drugs. I never sold drugs in my life, and if you see some money like that, of course you're gonna try, you know. And the thing about this lady is she was moved into our complex, and by the police. She was given a whole lot of money to buy drugs from as much people as she can. So a lot of people went to jail for that because it was an indictment. First time ever selling drugs, I sell to an indictment. Go to jail. It's all on my own. I'm not a part of no gang. I barely even go outside. I go to jail, did my crime, did my time. And I come out to find out that because I sold to that lady, I'm a part of a gang. And the way they came up with the name of the gang, Chopper City, I don't know. They probably just seen it written on the wall somewhere. And I write poetry, I write raps and everything. I do art. Been doing it since 7th grade. And one day I happened to have my art folder in my room. I'm on court probation, and I get a knock on the door. It's the probation officer. And he said that now I have a probation officer. And he asked me if he can search my room. Of course, I gotta say yeah, because it's a probation officer that he can search. And I'm on probation. So he searched my room to take my photo of all my art. And take pictures off my wall from prom, from graduation, stuff like that, run around with certain people. And they take paintball guns off. And they said, this is gang paraphernalia. This is our evidence of having you in the gang. Now, I thought that a gang is a group of people, 3 or more, that cause nuisance to the city, not an individual who do harm and have to sit on the bed. So that's basically how I got on the gang injunction. Before I met my probation officer, I went to a life skills class. I got a job. I was basically doing stuff that normal people do. And after I met him, it was so hard to keep the job because I had to keep up with visits and everything. I lost the job. Now he's pressuring me into getting the job, saying that I'm not doing anything. And it's very crazy to have a probation officer who's against you, trying to lock you up. And he's threatening me that people hang out in front of my house. He think I'm hanging out with him. And he's threatening me that my family's going to get evicted. And another thing about the gang injunction is they sent you this box with all the evidence of you being on a gang injunction. There's people on the gang injunction for shootings. They've been identified as shootings, stuff like that. About robberies and stuff like that. And my evidence was my poetry. And I was just like, this is all y'all got on me? Is y'all serious? So I was like, okay, it's up to me to prove that I'm not what they think I am. So, like I said, I got a job at the Marriott doing valet. And I volunteer at the food bank every Wednesday with Pastor Harris here. And after I had that job, I got another job. I had 2 jobs. I've been having 2 jobs for almost a year. And volunteering at the food bank and staying out of trouble. You would think that if you're doing the right thing, that police would see that and they would be like, okay, this guy's on the right path. He's not a part of your gang. No. They still harass me every day. Every time I go home, stopping me, checking me. And a lot of people around my house is getting stopped. People that's not on the gang injunction, getting stopped, handcuffed, because they assume that they're on the gang injunction because of their age, color, and the area that they're in. And that's very unfair. It's very unfair to have my nephews and my cousins and everybody walk outside and get harassed by the police because they're in the age range of people that's on the gang injunction. And that's basically what's going on with me right now. And yeah, so that's basically all I gotta say about that.
Okay, I'm Wesley Howard Sr. as Rev said, I have a son. I have 15 kids, and I deal with all 15 of them. Okay, and I'm proud of it, you know. When I say that, everybody look like, wow. 48 years old, my youngest is 4, my oldest is 30. My oldest is my namesake. They put him on the list because he liked being around people that do bad things, so they put him on the list, so that automatically make him a bad person. Now, as far as him getting put on the gang list, is my wife died 8 years ago. His name was on the lease, on the Section 8 lease. That's the head of the lease. I'm not on there. His name is on there. Once they put him on the gang list, no more than 2 months later, they took the Section 8 from him. So, I stay in San Francisco, he stay in Hayward. He has to sneak to see me. They gave him some more papers about a month ago saying that he can't come around any housing complexes nowhere in San Francisco. And I stay across the street from the housing complex, so when he comes to my house, he's in the house, he's sneaking in, you know. It's where his other brothers and sisters are. As far as how it affects me, I deal with all the young men in the community. It is a couple of cats that's on the gang list that needs to be on the gang list because they do bad things. But as far as them saying they gang members, I don't know too many youngsters. I might know 1 or 2 youngsters that got tattoos on their bodies saying they're from a gang. But it's like 27 of them or something like that they named, and out of the 27 there might be 2 that's gang members. And they're locked up. You know, basically what the gang, it just gives the police a right to mess with these youngsters. And they're targeting, I got 7 other sons. And with Nikki, Rev, we're trying to get them on the right track. They go to school, we got a GED program, which Nikki and Alexis helps out a whole lot with. And 2 of my boys goes there. Basically, the police don't like me. I used to be a little bad kid. You know, I used to do all kind of stuff. But the reason they don't like me because I got a big mouth. I'm gonna say what's in my heart. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna say when they're doing something wrong to somebody. And they really don't like it because both of us are together now. And he speaks what's on his mind, and I speak what's on my mind. But that comes to the point where 6 months ago, police stopped one of my sons on a scooter, throw cuffs on him. Me and 4 of my sons go outside to see what's going on. They start beating up on one of my sons, and then naturally, when I go to attack a police, I don't get to him. I get thrown down, beat up, took to the hospital first, and then in jail. And they ain't dropped the case yet. They charged me with attempted mayhem on the police, and I poked the police eye out. And this police is in duty every day. So basically what I'm trying to say is the police, they want to have all the authority on the streets. They want these kids to say, yes sir, yes ma'am. They want them to stand and salute them when they come around. And that's not right. So basically what we trying to get into these youngsters, if they don't hang out there, the police won't mess with them. There's plenty of other things they can do, and we try to give them things to do. You know, like we got 2 different groups. I run a fathers group. I got a group that tries to help men be better fathers. I'm not the world's greatest dad, but you know, I do my best. I don't try, I do it. You know, and that's about basically it, you know. If you have any questions, not about my 15 kids, but if you have any questions.
So one of the other things that we are working on is a community policing issue, is because the police in the neighborhood, we need to identify that we do need police in our neighborhood, but we also stay in our neighborhood. So we don't need to be harassed as community members. You're supposed to be serve and protect us, you know, but it don't seem like we get to serve and protect, you know. We get more of the harassment, you know, and just the other day, a young man, the officer said that they got a call on somebody with a gun, a black male in a white t-shirt.
That's everybody.
Now that's across the country now, a black male with a white t-shirt, So I'm just trying to get in their mindset that, you can't just, you have to go according to the law also, and I don't know what the attitude is, but it's a sense of I have the badge and you have to listen to me, they come in with straight attitudes, and it's not like we have a dialogue going on. We can't talk to you, we can't talk back to you, we can't ask you any questions, we're harassing you if we ask you any questions or anything like that, so one of the things we've been working on this forever is going to take is trying to get a community policing thing going where we are meeting with the police department. We are having dialogue going back and forth, which some community members are active in the community and, are going to watch over the officers. Raymond walked out the house maybe about 7 years ago and just started filming, and most of his tapes, you will see what really goes on in the hood. It won't be the cop shows that you see on TV where they edit it down and show their side, but you will really see a real live TV and what's going on in the hood, So that's another thing that we're working on is community policing, and hopes is that we can be part of a training that goes on and training officers. Because once they get out on the streets, then it's kind of hard, but they're working on a new chief for San Francisco, and hopefully through the new chief and through the police commission, we might be able to get a statement or something in a training that they go through as police officers. But it's very hard though in dealing with trying to help young men in these streets and dealing with the police at the same time is very hard, so we're against the system in which we thought the system was going to help us, but it's more or less when we go to help some of these youngsters in the streets, we're trying to prevent a all-out war that can happen on behalf of the police and the community on an officer doing too much or a young man might be doing too much. We're trying to prevent that, but it's not happening soon enough. The young man that they rolled up on behalf of them saying that he had a gun was a tall, weightlifting young man. They told him to come here. He didn't want to come, so he walked off. So they already identified him as resisting arrest. So other cars came, and he's kind of big, so he didn't want to get in handcuffs. So they put him in handcuffs, dropped him down to the floor. From my understanding, I wasn't there, but his head was bleeding. Took him to the station and charged him. But the police don't get charged for making a mistake of different identity. This young man has no criminal record at all. It just came out of his mother's house. This is a Saturday before Mother's Day. So, they're having a good time at the house, and now he's locked up for a mistake that the officers made. So that's the same thing which Jamal went through as coming out the house and, just being affiliated with the area. Then who's to say that this young man now, for a cover-up of a police department, can put him on the gang injunction list as a whole cover-up of a mistaken identity? He's going through all his court procedures and things like that, and now he can be put on the gang injunction list. So these are the type of things that go on in the area, as well as the gang injunction. You have that cop that we've seen on TV, which is Barrows. I remember when he started, he was a black and white officer, and it seemed like these black and white officers that wear uniforms, so uniform officers, they write a lot of tickets and they harass a lot, and after the harassment they do as uniform cops, they become gang task force. So you can't be a real officer and just do the regular monetary police duties. You got to do the harassment, you got to put drugs on people, you got to do all this to move up to be on the gang task force, in which you're a gang yourself, and they come out as gang members. So a lot of things that we're facing in the gang injunction is just on the top of the list right now. Once again, I know Leslie opened it up for questions and answers. Anybody have any questions?
As far as getting off, or when they're putting your name on the list and you're going through all the proceedings, are they only taking statements from the police officers and strictly, like specifically those gang task force members assigned to that area, or do community leaders and like other like affiliates get to speak out as well, like possibly on behalf of the people saying that they're not a part of that?
Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna answer it, and I'm gonna let Jamal answer also. During the time in which the Western Addition gang injunction was it was in the preliminary stages. They took statements, of course, all the declarations from the police department. And that's how they kind of, got the names and everything. Now, there was one, once again, that company, the organization Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, was working, I guess they were already working with the Bayview that already had the gang injunction put on them. Now, the lady from the lawyer's office told one community organization that was working with the young man and trying to get him off the list before it happened, she told him to tell the youngsters, don't come to court, don't do nothing, he's going to represent them. So I don't know what happened in between there, but I know that they're not taking statements from the community, but when, like I said, the civil process happens, you have to have a lawyer that has to dig up all that information for you. And the lawyer's office that took on the case was telling community members that we don't need to come down there and speak on these young men's behalf.
And when they want to do a gang injunction, they look at a certain neighborhood and people around a certain age, and the people who's going to jail. So they're just going to find out somebody getting a case in this area. They're going to use that to put you on a gang injunction. They gotta have a police report. They don't go to the neighborhood to confirm that there's a gang. They don't go out themselves. They go off what the police say, and they give you which was this big box that I was talking about of all the cases. They give that to you. And what happened when they gave it to me was, I was like, what is this? This is a box. Like, what is this? It was a police officer. He said, oh, it's just a box to see suing you for being a gang member. And I said, well, I'm not a gang member. Why you giving me this? He said, oh, well, if you're not a gang member, throw it away. Nothing to do with you. So I'm like, just throw it away. Like, what you mean just throw it away? It's like, well, if you're not a gang member, just throw it away. It don't have nothing to do with you. So I'm like, I was getting ready just to throw it back at him. But then I wanted to see what was in the box. So on the box is a subpoena to show up to a court date to plead your case to not being a gang member. Now, if you get a box of everything like that, you're not going to see that if they didn't tell you that that was there. You're going to be like, what's in this box? And you're going to look at all the different cases. It's very hard to see that subpoena. So a lot of people didn't see it and didn't know that they were issued to go to court about this. So that's where you're supposed to went to court to plead your case, that you were not a gang member. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in on the whole gang injunction, I believe there was one person, a girl. And I'm not sexist or anything, but that was the only girl on the list, and I believe she only got off because she was a girl. And she actually did she have a lawyer or something that told her to go down? She actually, somebody told her to go down and get off the gang injunction. And as basically the only person that went down and got off the gang injunction. Everybody else, they don't make it known that you gotta go and fight this as a case. They just give you a box and they told me, well, if this don't apply to you, just throw it away. And they gotta read it, they just say, well, there's a subpoena for a court. You gotta go to court. That's not what this is. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, have any political leaders come out in opposition to the gang injunction, and have there been any protests, or are politicians intimidated by the police?
Well,
Yes.
in the African American community, right now, the gang injunction is not a priority in the politics. The development of the side of the gang injunction is where the priority is. So if a gang injunction is preventing the development, then they're not going to protest that, because we have a lot of politics, and a lot of the African American leaders right now are in, I want to say, bed with the removal of us with the development. So if the gang injunction is preventing them from developing, them getting some money on behalf of a development, then they're going to get involved. But they won't be on this side of trying to help nobody get off the list. They're probably trying to put more people on the list.
He introduced himself as my new probation officer. And legally, when you're on probation, you are under a warrantless search. You agreed to have a warrantless search. It's called 1035 of them.
That comes with search procedures. You automatically, they can search you anytime.
Yeah, they
Walking
could.
down the street,
Yeah.
pull you over, say hi, come here.
Did you get into warrantless search? So when you're on probation, right, all of us who aren't on probation, right, as citizens, right, constitutionally, one of the most serious protections is against search and seizure, right? So the police have to have all these reasons why they stop you and enter your home or pat you down on the street. That's been weakened over time with different Supreme Court cases. But what happens when you're on probation or parole, you give up any right? And so you are warrantless searches. So police and peace officers can search you or your home at any time of day or night at will.
Or if you're with another individual in their home or their vehicle, and they pull you over.
Right, so if
Same.
you're in somebody else's home in their vehicle, that's what happens when you're on probation and or parole.
They just picked him out as like, oh, that's not a new guy, and they said, come here, and he did, he just walked away, and then they brought him for resisting arrest. Do they have to say like, oh, we were trying to arrest him for this thing he did, and that seems like they would have to have a warrant to go after him. And so
No, they got a call over the radio, plain and simple, that it was a person in a white t-shirt had a gun. And when they came in, this, like she showed on the map, large way is a street that goes right through the complex. That was the first one they seen. So that's basically, when we went to the police station, that was their excuse, that he should have stopped and talked to them, because they police. So that was their reason. When he didn't stop and talk to them, they said that was their probable cause to detain him.
Yes, and that's the oldest trick in the book. You fit the description of, something very, that's very brief, very, anybody could be a black guy in a white shirt.
See, but that goes back to, like Rev said, if the police was doing their job and knew, doing their community policing, and knew the youngster, which one of them admitted, yeah, I know him. Once I seen who it was, it shocked me to see him in here because Al don't do nothing. This is what the police told us afterwards. So if they communicate more, maybe their job would be a little easier, but they don't. And then majority of the police make false calls in. They get more police there so they can feel safer. Why? I don't know. I ain't never heard of police getting shot or nothing in Western Addition.
Not yet.
And what they're operating on the street, it's legally is reasonable suspicion, right? And that is there's a lot of discretion that's used, right? And so things like the way people dress, where they are, right? These are all things that a police officer can say, well, I have reasonable suspicion to believe that this person was the person that fit the description. right? So that's how institutionally they get around that, but it comes down to discretion, basically police discretion on the street. And, you know, there are cases where police officers clearly abuse that discretion.
The San Francisco has so many departments, but the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, or something was before, they changed the name so much, but the director actually brought somebody out and they were able to do a study on racial profiling in San Francisco on African Americans being stopped 3 times as a white person in San Francisco. And it was actually a study that the police department brought. They wanted to find out what was wrong with the culture between the African Americans and the police department. So they brought somebody in and they done the study and they completed the study, and that was the end of it. So we know, and the police know, that there is racial profiling going on, but there is nothing else, you know, done since it's, actually in meeting with the lieutenant after that case happened, we asked him that question about stopping this young man, and he said that it's actually, he quoted a case, and I don't know the number or anything, but he said it actually went to Supreme Court, and when an officer asks you to stop, then you're supposed to stop. Now, I haven't looked that up and, you know, identified that, you know, but I know it's been plenty of times of, you know, I'm not stopping. You know, if I'm walking and I'm, you know, just you ask me to stop, for what, personally, you know, I'm going to keep going, you know, and that was, the lieutenant said that the young man should have done. He should have just stopped and said something.
You should have asked him if he's being
But the thing
detained.
about it is, no matter what, they were targeting him because he fit the description of an African-American male in a t-shirt. You know, so it was no matter what he did, he was going to be a target. They were going to search him and find out if he had a gun or not, no matter what he did. So in the end, I asked the lieutenant on behalf of the mistake that you guys done, you know, where's the justice for this young man? The lieutenant was talking about on how we have a good DA and the case might be dropped. But as a lieutenant of the station, I asked him, you have the power to just write this young man off and just let him walk out the door. He didn't want to answer that part. But, you know, now the young man, you know, is without his mother on Mother's Day. You know, he's being charged with a crime for resisting arrest when the crime was a call out for a gun. In which, you know, like the cop said, that he was surprised that it was this young man. And he said, to his knowledge, he didn't see him until after he got beat up by the police. He didn't know who he was until he got to the station and everything, you know. And what's ironic is he had the young man was with another young man right with him. And they said they took him to the station for his safety. And they